Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Boosting Layout Speed and Efficiency with Robotics. This webinar is sponsored and presented by HP. My name is Townwen, AWCI's Education Program Manager. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenters, Andy Dickey and Josh Wasmus. Andy is the head of HP Construction Services of Americas, Australia, and New Zealand. And Josh is the Superintendent of Valley Interior Systems. I'm going to go send it over to Andy to start things off. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks, Tal. As Tal said, I'm the head of HP's Construction Services business unit for the Americas, Australia, and New Zealand. I have a pretty extensive background in construction, mainly focused on concrete, but also working in the construction technology space. So my whole career has kind of been spent with one foot in the construction world and 1 foot in the technology world. And the thing that Josh and I are here to talk to you guys about today is HP SitePrint, which is a robot that does layout. So just a kind of a quick overview, because that's the first question we get is why would we do this? Well, the robot runs around autonomously and does your layout for you. It improves site productivity. It brings a degree of accuracy that's pretty difficult to get in a manual scenario. And not only can it be more accurate, it's more consistent, because it runs the 1,000th hour as it did the first hour, which, as a person like Josh who's done layout, it's harder on the 1,000th hour on your body to do it than it is in the first hour. And then lastly, it's easy to use. I know in some parts, I spent a long time in the construction positioning business or company, and it's one thing to have a device that will help you do a certain thing, but can you use it? Is it easy enough to use? And an HP SitePrint is definitely easy to use. So how does it work? Well, I wanted just to give a quick overview of the business model. The first, you buy the robot. That's something we took feedback from the marketplace that they really wanted. So if you rent something, as we all know, whether it's a forklift or a man lift, that's an added scheduling burden. You have to then schedule it on and off the site, and everybody's worried about optimizing the cost. We wanted to make the robot purchasable, although you can rent it as well, and have that price be approachable. The other thing with high-end equipment is repairs and taking care of the things. So many of the parts can be quite expensive and to replace, and we wanted to make sure that the robot was accessible to interiors contractors of all sizes. And one way we do that is you don't buy parts, you don't buy ink, you don't excuse me, you don't buy support. It's part of a services and support contract that's based on usage, and it's charged by the square foot or the point if you're an MEP or a fire protection contractor. And what that enables is, you use all the ink you want of any type that we offer that you want to use. You don't have to think about paying for it. You ask for it and it comes. You can access support an infinite amount of times if you want. All the repair costs, labor and parts are taken care of. And in fact, if your robot is under repair for some reason, you get a loaner from your dealer that's in our dealer network. You get access to the cloud, and firmware updates are also included. So it's an all-inclusive package that it's a set it and forget it. You just use it, and if you don't use it, you don't pay. And that was a key feature that people asked for as well. So what are some of the frequent pains? I mean, nobody knows this better than Josh, but I'll just kind of give a quick overview to set up what he's going to talk to us about. What are the pain points that interior contractors often face? Quality issues causing callbacks, that's a thing. And really putting things in the wrong place because there's a confusion about who's doing what, who's laying out how. So it's definitely something that customers have been telling us that they face. A lot of people have non-profitable projects, and if you look at a job cost report, it's kind of hard from numbers on a page to discern where did this bust come from. And in our research, when we were deciding to start this business, we learned that a lot of those busts are from mistakes that didn't get caught outside of the crew that was doing them. So this brings a level of visibility to the process as well. We commissioned a study regarding layout personnel, and what we found was that the average age of a person doing layout in construction today is 42. And we asked the company doing the study for us, also asked, what does that age look like projected out 5 years, and unfortunately it's 47. So that means we're net neutral on the people coming into the business and people leaving the business for whatever reason that know how to do layout, and that's a huge problem, and it's going to definitely affect our ability as an industry to scale and meet the demands that we're hearing about with things like the CHIPS Act and Stargate and just our natural growth. And then finally, this is an issue that's near and dear to my heart, and that's health and safety. We all know layout guys who've had knee replacements and all those kinds of things. It's really not good for you, and it's particularly acute in interiors because a lot of what you guys are crawling around on is concrete. Unlike the concrete guys, we tend to be crawling around on plywood. It's a little bit better, but we want to be a force for good on the health and safety side of it too. So let's just quickly look at some of the benefits. The first one is productivity. Most layout crews are 2 to 3 people, someone on the dumb end of the tape, someone on the smart end, and somebody marking, or some combination of that. HP SitePrint only takes 1 person. So you can even carry it around the job site, provided you don't have to go up a ladder. If you got a buck hoist, you can truly be 1 person all over the site. But generally speaking, it's 1 person operating the setup. As I touched on before, it's high quality. It's the same quality the first hour or the 1,000th hour or the 10,000th hour, which really affects the bottom line. It provides healthier and safer work. Not bending down, not being on your knees are all very important things. And then also it's a digital workflow. So whether it's BIM or AutoCAD, you're able to connect the design directly to the layout on the floor in a precise way. Let's kind of dive a little bit deeper before we start to get into some of Josh's stuff about, the different steps of layout. So even if you're using a total station, you really can only get help with measuring distances and points. Someone still has to go around and mark it, pop a chalk line, and do all those things. The nice thing about HP SitePrint is that it does all those for you. So it's taking the measurements and doing the marking all in one go, and it only takes 1 person. So with that, I just wanted to kind of set the scene of what the robot is. How do you interact with the robot? How do you pay for the robot? And I'm going to take this opportunity, which is why I'm here. I don't like to hear my own self talk. I want to hear from people that are out in the field doing it every day. With Josh, I'll give a quick background on Josh, and then he's going to tell us about his experiences, and I'm going to be his PowerPoint person. So just to quickly introduce Josh. Josh is at Valley Interior Systems, which is a company many of us know and love that kind of works in the Ohio, down through the Ohio Valley, Tennessee River Valley, down into Mississippi now as well. Josh, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Sure. First, I want to thank everybody for joining. Kind of goes way back into my early teens. I actually started out as a wood framer. So after hundreds and hundreds of houses, I decided to get into the commercial atmosphere, start touching some of the metal studs, and many years of that. And I really got into load bearing and really had a keen eye for layout. I really enjoyed laying out buildings by hand, pulling measurements, checking square, snapping lines. And it's pretty intense if you go to lay out a building by yourself or yourself and another guy and doing it all by hand. Ton of man hours, black chalk all over your face. It was a big event to do that.
The multifamily layout guys, you always see them, they're red, covered head to toe. You see them, used to be able to spot them in a restaurant.
And then I'm thinking maybe probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there's some other systems out there that I'm sure a lot of people have used, whether it was Spectra Precision, the QML 800, or Hilti PLT 300, and they were really nice. One of those I like more than the other, but I knew back then that eventually something was going to happen that would be autonomous. It's kind of amazing to see that is now here today and what can actually be done with it.
Yeah, why don't you, and I think also this is helpful too, to explain just kind of the scope of what you guys have done up to this point. So we pulled some statistics about how much track you put down and square footage and things. So why don't you kind of give us some background on that?
So it looks like, over 120,000 feet of wall track across total area of 2 million square feet across 18 different projects, including healthcare, commercial, hospitality sectors. And we're growing daily. Buildings are just popping up all over the place.
Yeah, that's
Using the
worth
robot.
pointing out. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
Yep. I was just saying, using the robot, it's like, it kind of takes you back when you go through the process of getting everything set up and how quickly it can be done. It's like, wow, we could really do a lot of layout.
And that's worth pointing out too. You guys have been growing a ton. I mean, at least in my, I don't know the details inside of Valley, but just from outside observation, the company size even 5 years ago, 6 years ago versus today it's a dramatic difference.
It pretty much just keeps doubling. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know that there's an end or not, but we'll just keep going.
Yeah. So when we met to put this together, we were trying to keep it high level and give some bullet points about, what are the big picture things that Valley is seeing that you like, and those are now up on the screen. So feel free to talk about it.
So like everything I've done with layout, no matter what system it is, what robotic total station, to me, it's always the accuracy, especially when something's going through like prototype stages. I'm going to be like hyper focused on checking and seeing how accurate the equipment actually is. And basically from square one, once the final prototype was done, and I'm checking big square and pulling Pythagorean theorem and checking it, and it never lies to you. Obviously, there's going to be whatever your deviation is. You want to make sure your setup is clean and the survey on the job is clean. But if you're within tolerance, the robot is going to print exactly what is in that file, which is pretty awesome.
Tell us a little bit about the speed of it. I know, because usually we used to say you can be faster, but you can't be, not about the robot. I mean, generally in construction layout, like we can be faster, but we're not going to be as accurate. It's interesting to take both of those at the same time and think about, okay, not only can you be accurate, you can also be much faster.
So the speed of it, actually, when you use it and you have it on a few jobs or whatever, it's going to amaze you how fast you're going to lay out the project. And what I mean by that, say you take a typical medical center, small medical building. To me, that's probably 2 weeks worth of hand layout, probably about a week worth of a different instrument layout. This is now going to be done in 2 to 3 days with the robot. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know. For me, part of it too has nothing to do with the robot. Like you have, it's like any total station or total station driven device, you have to have line of sight. We found that a big part of, creating this speed is you cordon off, 3, 4, 5,000 square feet, and it just cranks through it and nobody's interrupting it. I see humans lay out people because usually there's supervision, maybe not in every case, especially with a big company like Valley, but then the smaller interiors contractors, usually your layout guys supervision, they get interrupted a lot being asked questions, and they lose everything in their head when they get pulled off of it. So I noticed when I go on your sites that somebody like Brad or anybody that does your layout, if they get interrupted, it's no big deal. Like you get people coming up asking questions all the time. Where's this? Where's that? So that was one of the things I noticed. What is the talk around Valley as it relates to soft tissue injuries and things like that relative to layout? How does that factor in to the bigger picture?
It's a big deal, and I'll say that because our layout guys in the company, like, we value them more than some of the foremen even. I mean, if you can't lay the building out, you can't go through the rest of the process of the building. And what I mean by that, I was a layout person myself for many years, and I cannot tell you how many knee pads I wore out and what that did to my body, crawling around and checking, and seeing now that our layout guys can use new technology and use the robotic total station, set up, and then print the floor plan. That's a big deal for us because of the longevity that we're going to get out of those layout guys and the injuries that they're not going to have to deal with.
For sure. I think about it so as a former construction owner and meeting with insurance companies for work comp and GL and talking about experience mods and everything. What I'm going to be watching for in the next 10 to 20 years is this a needle mover on the experience mod front. Like I don't think one client doing it across their operation is going to do it, but as everybody starts to adopt it, and there's thousands and thousands of robots out there rather than hundreds and hundreds, it's going to be fun to watch, fun to see. On the one operator front, I'm curious because some of this we didn't pre-discuss because we want it to be a little exciting for both of us too. But how many people were you using before to lay out? How many obviously we know the answer to that it's one. Like, what are you doing with the people that you're freeing up? I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on it.
So that's kind of different. Personally, myself, I've always been a one layout person, even with.
You're a beanbag guy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually took a piece of a railroad track. I did not go and take it off an active railroad, but I cut that down, welded some plates to it. It could actually carry my paint, my clear spray.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was my dead man to hold the other side of the chalk line. I do now, like I'll say these days, you do see at least 2, maybe 3, if they're just pulling hand layout. I don't know what's changed, but so yeah, it still, to answer the question, it is 100% going to be one person using the robotic total station and the robot. There's really no need for another person. So whether normally that would be like an apprentice that we're putting with a layout person, that person is now learning how to top out and put up top crack and frame. He's being used somewhere else.
Yeah, I always like to point that out because that's not just a savings thing. Like that's one thing, if you just look at it going 2 to 3 to 1, that's all about savings. But you also have to take into account if that person's doing something else, they're making money. They're making you money. So you're making it in both directions. You're making it by saving it and making it by doing more work and getting it done. So this next one, go ahead, buddy. No, go please.
One thing I wanted to bring up, just because it was a thought that popped up. I can train somebody to use the robotic total station and the robot way faster than I can train somebody to hand layout. It is 2 different things. So that's something that everybody should want to pay attention to there.
I agree. Like, because when you pull, like, you're not pulling diagonals. Like, it's one thing to say, hey, go pull a diagonal, but you have to know what that means. Like, geometrically, mathematically, you have to know what that means. And some of those skills can be kind of hard to find these days, at least in my experience in the field. But
yep.
This is a great quote from VP of Ops Rick Hutchins over at Valley, talking about the difference in productivity. How long did it take before you started this? He's talking about going from 25 to 35 linear feet per hour by hand to 300 feet per hour a track. How long do you think it took you guys to get up to that point from when you first started?
So I'm going to say with anybody, technologies, sometimes it's change, right? Yeah. Usually like the first, I don't know, couple days or week, it's going to take a minute for somebody to realize like all the steps that you need to go through to get all the equipment to work correctly. But once you get past that learning curve, a couple days to a week, you'll remember it forever. It kind of just becomes a habit after that.
I agree. I think it's repetition is the key, and I think it's interesting too that you see the same thing in software. So software and hardware are the same. If you go to a one-off class that's 2 days, and then you don't touch whatever it is, whether it's the software or the device or whatever for a month, it's pretty hard to get back on that horse. But I think you take the training class and you use it straight for a week or 2, you pretty much that's knowledge you have for the rest of your life, pretty much. So
yeah,
I would echo that. So what I'd like to do, what you see there is one of the Valley guys setting up over control, right? So that's one of the things that you do when you set up, right? You have some control points, you shoot those, and those same control points exist in the CAD file, and then you click play and away you go. But I just wanted to point that out, seeing that there. We're going to go through some of the challenges that Valley has faced generally, and I'm sure you're going to find some of these challenges that in common with yourselves, and then we'll talk about how we solved it together. So I'll just let you kind of speak to what you see there on the screen, Josh.
So yeah, in Columbus, Ohio, the market here is, I mean, it seems like every couple of days you're hearing about a new project that's coming out of the ground.
And they all start with B's, like for billion. Like that's the thing that shocked me.
There's so much going on, we can't even bid it all, to be honest. But I mean, we're going after the projects that we want to really be a part of. So with that rapid growing like backlog, we need to make sure that we have enough people to run all these robots. I believe we now have 6 in our fleet. We just purchased 2 more. So it's not, if it wasn't so busy in our market, you might be able to take that single robot and go from job to job. But where we're at, I mean, we're laying out multiple jobs at the same time. So,
and we
yeah.
see it both ways too. That we could do a webinar honestly on that whole topic about, because for me, it depends on what week you ask me if it's better to have a centralized layout team or to spread it out. I think for most people, it's a hybrid. So if you get on a big job, it's dedicated on the job. And then if you've got some more medium-sized jobs, like a couple 100,000 square feet, MOB build out or something like that, you could run 3 or 4 of those jobs with one robot, just bouncing it around too.
So
and
the
we
other
beat
thing,
this. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the other thing. I mean, we're constantly checking these jobs, making sure, like, when is the slab on grade getting poured? When can we get on it? Because we already know in that P6 schedule, like, they have this job stacked. Like,
Yeah.
it's so fast paced in our area. So that whole time consuming manual layout process, like, we're saving a bunch of time in the project because of how fast we can lay it out. We can now start putting up the top traction. I mean, trying to get ahead of some items on the job, whether it's mechanicals or whatever, that's really going to hurt us. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then on the CAD side, I mean, now I know with interiors, this is not something we face in MEP because they've been using total stations across the board pretty much for 10 years. But it's tell us like some of the strategies you pursued to try to get your CAD done both in the beginning and what you've kind of evolved to now.
So we're actually still in the process. It's pretty simple to, get the DWG file of what you're going to lay out, but we're in the process of a lot of the means and methods that we use at Valley and a certain way that we want things laid out. Whether we're putting door numbers or fire ratings or whatever, there's a lot of things that can be done in that CAD prep that we're right now trying to figure that out. So
in the beginning, you hired a service to do it. You trained a guy. It was like a freelancer, if I remember. And now, you brought somebody in house. So I think that's smart with the volume you guys are talking about that. But I think it was clever what y'all did. You started with the paying somebody, and then you kind of evolved as the demand grows and building your own capabilities in house to do that. It's impressive.
Yeah, we now have our own BIM guy that I'm sure I'm going to have many meetings with him, and it may take a period of time of seeing everything that we actually want to be in that file, because anything can be in there. You can print whatever you want. A quick example would be a job where we laid out 70,000 points of rod drop. Well, there's a lot of other trades in the area, so we went ahead and put our initials of our company next to that rod drop. So that was a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah. I think, in the early days, this is before we launched, we were on a school and the teacher representative wanted everything printed just to see where, like the carpet for the little kids, their cubbies and everything. And I never felt it more strongly than in that moment. There were like some things we should put on the floor and some things we shouldn't. I think the robot ran for 2 hours just in that one classroom. But yeah, it's being smart. It's all about being smarter, getting the file exactly how you want it and having a system for doing that so that you can repeat it quickly is a big part of it. And it's good if you can include things that really set you guys apart. Like you were saying, the Valley way is also super helpful. So on the solutions side of it, you want to tell us about, just kind of give us the quick bullets of like, okay, you had all these challenges. what it just kind of we've been talking about it, but just kind of recap what we did.
So yeah, investment in robotic layout tools to improve project efficiency and productivity. We kind of knew that's what we were going to see when we got into this. Just as a side note for somebody that, they may have never used robots and may be thinking about getting into it. The reason, as Andy was mentioning, that we hired out that CAD prep is that's just a simple email. Hey, give me the wall lines, give me this, and give me this. It doesn't take a lot of time to get that file back. But that's definitely where somebody would want to start before they got into, putting more information into what they want to lay out. Development and expansion across all locations. We pretty much started at our hub here in Columbus, Ohio. We have offices in Cincinnati, Toledo, Ohio, Lexington, Kentucky, Nashville, and I'm sure there'll be other places here soon. We wanted to make sure we laid out some projects, we understand everything with the equipment, and then what we did, we actually went to those other offices. I took some of my layout guys and we trained ourselves, which worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and I think one thing to point out here too is like it's not something we really covered in the presentation. It kind of goes along with the implementation and ongoing support is that HP works through dealers, just like a Ford or a Chevy dealer would. And all of our dealers are from all three of the major total station manufacturers, the same sales channels. So Topcon, Trimble, and Leica. And the reason for doing that is that construction happens locally, right? So you have all these offices. We need dealerships near you guys in case you need more ink or you have a question or any number of things. And so that's something our dealers are a big part of the equation for us, and we're really, really proud of them. And we're really proud of the fact that they're so close to where the action is.
And then as far as the support goes, early on, as we were, just launching this in Columbus, we almost became family with the HP team, and took a little minute there at the beginning we were kind of trying to do a lot really fast with it. So yeah, the support was definitely there.
For sure. And then you got, the CAD seems to be working great. That was always my biggest concern for the reason I stated that some of the groups, like MEP guys, they're in CAD all day, every day. They have whole departments and stuff for them, but interiors, generally speaking, that's not the case. So I've been impressed. You guys just took to it, straight away. Pretty smooth.
We didn't have an option. We had to lay out a lot of buildings.
Yeah, really. So this is a quote here from Brad. I'll take this one, and then we can kind of talk through the numbers and wrap it up. Brad was definitely, and this is a guy that I think highly of, and he was very skeptical, and I like people that keep me on my toes. And I think he's definitely somebody that some days I feel like he's more of a believer than me because he's just very gung-ho about the robot. And I just want to take a chance to highlight Brad and all the hard work he's doing. And he's training even more people. So when we were out on the job recently, the hospital in Columbus, he's in there and he's got two youngsters that he's trained up, and he's talking to us, and they're just doing everything. So I really enjoyed seeing that. So let's just kind of go through some of the numbers here, just jumping ahead because we're getting tight on time here. So just full disclosure for everybody, we rounded these numbers to make them easy just to understand. So for all the estimators in the audience, no worries on that. We know it's not exact, but you want to just kind of quickly run us through this. Like, I think the first place people jump down is to the cost and what we save. But I would like to hear your take on the time and productivity that you're seeing.
Yeah, I know everybody's seeing that 10 times productivity increase, 10 times faster, and you're like, how in the world is that? If you look at everything that goes into layout, and if you were to do that by hand, and then you take all those labor hours, go those hours, and then lay the building out with the robot, you will truly see some of those productivity increases. It's kind of amazing to see.
Yeah, we were trying to be kind of aggressive, putting this together when we were working on it together. You see the site print, the robot purchase amortization over 12 months. I mean, that's one nice thing about owning the robot is like once you own it, you own it. So this is including part of the cost of buying the robot, but once you get on the other side of that, the numbers get even better because you're not paying for the same robot over and over again. So it's really good to see.
Andy, I can sum all that up real quick by saying you're going to be more worried about the robot sitting because you laid out too fast.
Yeah, we see that with tilt up, especially because we can get, the robot will, depending on the toll station you're using, it'll print a straight line 500 feet long. So we see a lot of these guys that are on the same jobs as you, the tilt wall guys, they get so far ahead of the layout, and then the owner wants the erasable ink because they don't want the marks on the floor for when they do their layout. The rain will wash it out. So the guys are having to learn not to get too far ahead of it because they want the erasable ink, but if it sits there for 3 weeks in the rain, it'll probably go. So I've definitely seen that. That's not something I anticipated when we started this. So just jumping ahead here. This is from Jeremy. If anybody wants to check out the video case study we have out online, you can find it on YouTube. It's just, I really felt this really deeply when he was saying this in the interview. Like he really likes people that he can partner with, that he can trust. I feel like HP and our dealer network is that, and I've been there especially when you're trying to scale. If you're doubling the size of the company every few years or every 2 years, you don't have the time to worry about if the other guy's going to hold up his end. And it's the same on the tech side of it. I always felt the same way about Valley. I never had to worry about you guys holding up your end. So I wanted to get that plug out there and just say thank you. And then maybe if we have some time, Tal, we can take questions from the audience.
Yes, there's a couple of questions coming in here. So what was training like for your team and how was it received?
So we actually at Valley, we have our own university. It's called Valley U. We've been doing it a couple of years now. It's basically where we're taking subject matter experts in the company and trying to train everybody to be the best that they can be. So when we started taking the technology and what we've learned with the total station and the robot to other offices, they were all ears. They wanted to hear every word that we were saying. And I guess that's all I'll say about that is it was well received.
As a follow-up to that, how long did that take you?
So I'm a little different because I have the training background, but basically it took me a few days to develop a small PowerPoint based on what we learned with the equipment. And after that, we were ready to go. And we just went to other markets and spent some time going through a PowerPoint, going through all the specifics of the equipment, and then obviously getting the equipment out and laying out with it in an outbuilding or whatever we had at the office. So basically went to each of those areas, and now all those offices are laying out with the robot.
Andy, I think this is for you. If someone asks you to start this, is there anything that we need to look out for? Or it could be for both of you.
Yeah, I think one thing to look out for is that, like, if you're going to take a demo from an HP dealer for this robot, make sure everybody's along for the ride. I get a lot of people from the innovation department, at some big GC or something like that, or even just an executive, just taking a demo and making the decision saying we're doing this. And that sometimes in life you do have to do that. But I gotta show some respect to Jeremy Turi, the COO, and to Rick. They wanted everybody to come along for the ride. So the first time I ever set foot on a job site was before the launch. We were trying to get people's feedback and stuff like that. And Ben and Marcus Willis and a lot of people were there. And that's key, because nobody wants to feel like, okay, now I'm going to make you 100% responsible for how this job goes, but you're not going to get to do it the way you're comfortable with. Nobody wants to be in that position. So I'd like to encourage everybody to build a team, a core team, have an executive, have your main layout guy, and have a couple of the layout guys and even some of the carpenters. Get involved from day one. There's nothing there's no stupid questions. There's nothing they could say that would hurt our feelings. I'd rather have them everybody who matters to the success being at the table from day one if possible. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that question? Like, what should people expect, Josh?
So the one thing I would want everybody to know to look out for, and I know you know this as well, Andy, when you're setting up with the total station, shooting in your points and then shooting in the robot so that it knows where it exists, when you see that deviation and you're in tolerance, you're good to lay out. I will tell you, there will be times where the surveyor of the project has surveyed out of tolerance, and you're going to know that. I just wanted to bring that up because I've seen other companies that don't pay attention to that, and you don't want to print until you know you're good to print.
Amen. Stick your hand up. There's nothing wrong with burning an hour getting to the bottom of it, really, especially as much as you're going to get back from the speed of the robot. It ain't going to hurt anything. That's good advice.
But the good thing with that is, if you're in tolerance, you can walk away knowing that everything that robot did is perfect. So
in addition to that, so why should they choose HP Robot over others?
Well, I can take this if you want, Andy.
I'm not going to answer. I don't do that in these customer, because everybody's here to see you. They're not here to see me, really. I'm just the facilitator.
I can't speak for the other robots, and I don't even know really. I know there's a Dusty and Rugged or some other robots out there. I will tell you at Valley, when we latch onto something, we fully latch onto it. I do know, at least with our company, we wouldn't have done it if we didn't know that HP was right for us. And we're proving that by laying out building after building.
Awesome, thank you. And then for one more is, what new innovations are you working on at HP or at Valley or in collaboration?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. I don't mind saying, because it's already been revealed at one of our sort of hype events that we have, like Developers Conference. We're doing some stuff with floor flatness. So the robot has cameras on it, it has LiDAR sensors, and it's also connected to a really precise total station. And it can sort of map the space, whether it be the floor or around it. The first thing we're going to start with is the floor, but it's not just to produce a picture. It's really, we want something practical. So the first thing you'll see is that you can pick a point that you laid out, and you can say, hey, here's my datum, and then just go and print the deviation between what we wanted to happen and what actually happened. And then right after that, we're going to do it with lines within months. So basically what that means, you could pick a track, and you could say the base elevation or datum for this track is X, and every 3 feet, give me a shim height, like the delta between them, and just run right on down through there. And that's big too for conveyor people, not just interior. Really, the two biggest ones are interiors and then material handling people, because they're doing these really complex systems, and the floor's doing this, and they've got to keep it at a certain level or packages tip off and all sorts of things. So we're really excited about it, and we're going to focus. I mean, reality captures is a term. It's been around a long time, and people laser scan and they do those things, but really and those have their place. We just want to focus on really practical things for our customers, like what we're collecting this data about the surface. What can they do with it to make them more productive?
Awesome. Well, that concludes our Q&A session. Do you have any last remarks you'd like to address?
Go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say good luck to everybody, and I mean, if this is something you get into, I think it will be very rewarding for you.
I just want to say thanks. I know everybody's busy all the time. You too, Josh. I know you got a lot going on, man, and I'm always respectful of people's time and taking the time out to learn about something new. So just thanks from my part and from HP as well.
Well, thank you, Andy and Josh, for your presentation today, for sharing with us all the information. And then thank you for everyone for attending. Thank you, HP, for sponsoring this. And then we'll see you next time. Have a good day, everyone.